Hello, and welcome to the show Crime Talk Today's Story. A story that is often retold, yet it remains shrouded in mystery. In Moscow, the capital of Russia, there's a famous place called Dubrovka Theatre. On 23rd October 2002, during a musical play called North-Ost, the theatre was filled with around 950 people. The play showcased various aspects, including the bravery of the Russian army. It was a typical night at the theatre, packed with people enjoying a play. Suddenly, a bus pulls up. 50 people disembark, including women. They enter the theatre and seize control, standing guard at every entrance. Shots ring out, creating a scene of chaos and fear. Among the audience, there are children and women caught in the crossfire. These 50 individuals hail from Chechnya, fighting for their homeland's freedom. Their demand for Russia to send their army and halt their own. After a journey of hundreds of kilometers, they've entered Russia and this theater in a dramatic bid for attention to their cause. In the heart of Chechnya, an audacious hostage crisis unfolded. Armed with high-grade explosives, hand grenades, heavy bombs, rifles, and pistols, the hostage takers seize the theater. These individuals infiltrated Chechnya's streets, bypassing checks and searches. It's believed bribes were involved. Once inside, they took control of the theater, holding over 900 people hostages. Their demand was clear and chilling. If their demands were not met, they threatened to kill all the hostages within a week. This crisis revealed the dark underbelly of power, corruption, and desperation. Let's delve deeper into the motivations and planning behind this. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, was once a prime minister. He was a powerful and fast leader, known for his nationalist views. On October 23rd, a demand was made. The ultimatum was clear: withdraw the army within a week or face the consequences. The threat was severe. Over 900 lives were at stake, a chilling reminder of the high stakes involved. Putin's response was firm. He declared there will be no dialogue with terrorists. His stance was clear. Terrorists should always be met with a decisive response. Putin's power and resolve were evident in this crisis. His leadership style, marked by swift action and nationalistic fervor, continues to a year after 9/11 terrorism struck Moscow. Over 900 people were held hostage. The Russian government faced a dilemma. The lives of 900 people were at stake. Putin's image was one of strength. He was known not to negotiate with terrorists, but the pressure was immense. The government had to save the hostages, possibly by fulfilling the terrorists' demands. Doing so could tarnish Putin's image. Negotiating with terrorists was a deviation from his usual stance. Initially, the strategy was to buy time, distract the terrorists, and find a solution. A tense standoff between Russian prisoners and the government has escalated. The government's initial offer was rejected by the prisoners. The Russian government proposed that the prisoners leave Russia for a safe country, promising they wouldn't be killed. However, this offer was flatly refused. The prisoners, originating from Chechens, stated, "We know that when we come to Moscow, there is no point in going there alive. We will die. So we came to die." They further threatened, "But if we die, we will kill all the people with us." This response has caused a stir within the Russian government. The prisoners' ultimatum leaves the government with a difficult choice: to kill or to listen. The situation is further complicated by the presence of foreign citizens from the conversation started through them, leading to their forced departure from the country. In the next few days, 150-200 people left. Despite leaving, they remained firm on their demands. They wanted the Russian army to leave. They were told it wasn't possible to leave so soon. It required time and planning. Unfazed, they gave an ultimatum of 1 week. If their demands weren't met within this time frame, they threatened to kill remaining people. They refused to leave the sick, elderly, and children behind. During this period, prisoners were allowed to communicate with their families and government representatives. Many expressed fears of being killed, adding pressure on the government. This Moscow's hostage crisis unfolded by leaving many questions unanswered. Putin, under constant pressure, refused to negotiate with the terrorists. As time passed, the situation escalated with 2 hostages killed outside the theater. Special forces and police teams were on standby. Then, a 26-year-old woman broke all barriers and entered the theater. The terrorists, who had fortified the theater, were taken aback. They feared not just the hostages escaping, but also outsiders infiltrating. Once inside, the woman made a bold demand, telling the men to leave her. This unexpected twist added another layer of complexity to the crisis. The Dubrovka theater was a tense standoff. Inside, innocent lives were at stake. On the other hand, a brave woman tried to negotiate with terrorists. They suspected her of being Kiev, Russia's secret service. Tragically, they shot her within seconds. Later, they discovered she was not Kiev. 2 days passed with no resolution. The woman's attempt to make a difference had failed. Outside, pressure mounted on the Russian government. Families of the hostages pleaded for their release. Despite all efforts, neither side was willing to compromise. A group of 50 terrorists stormed a theater in Russia. Their leader broadcasted a chilling video message on every channel, outlining their demands and motivations. He demanded Russia withdraw its army from Chechnya, insisting on the right for Chechen people to live freely. He warned, "If we die, our brothers will come and continue the fight." As the 23rd and 24th of October passed, the standoff continued. By the 25th, the operation had been ongoing for 57 hours. With the world watching, Putin was left with a difficult decision. With the echoes of 9/11 in his mind, he knew his reputation was at stake. But he felt there was no other option. On a fateful Saturday, October 26th, Putin decided to stand firm. He refused to negotiate with terrorists. At around 5 a.m., special forces surrounded a theater filled with people. Putin had decided to act. Suddenly, the lights were cut off. Through the egg pipes, the noxious gas was released into the theater. The gas was sprayed into the theater to incapacitate the Chechen fighters, but it affected both hostages and terrorists. Also, many died from the gas too. The gas wouldn't discriminate. Outside, no one knew what was happening. This was a day when Putin, a former Kiev agent, chose action over negotiation in a hostage crisis. In the midst of a hostage situation, a chilling scene unfolds. Special force commandos stand guard outside every door, their presence a silent threat. Amidst the chaos, a Russian hostess makes a desperate call. She reaches out to the hostages, the terrorists, anyone who will listen. She has their numbers. "I don't know what the Russian government is doing," she says, her voice filled with fear. "But we can see from here that there are a gas leak and people are suffocating with it." A year after 9/11, terrorism struck Moscow. Over 900 people were held hostage. The Russian government faced a tough choice. Saving lives meant negotiating with terrorists. This could tarnish Putin's image. He was known for his known negotiation stance. Initially, the strategy was to buy time, distract the terrorists, and find a solution. 120 Russian prisoners, plus 40 others, faced off with the government. Initially, no deaths were reported, but the truth couldn't be hidden. As the operation ended, bodies were retrieved from the cold, snowy scene. Many unconscious prisoners, their faces covered, suffocated on the icy ground. The gas used remains a mystery. A toxic gas incident occurred, and the victims were rushed to the hospital. The doctors, unaware of the gas's nature, treated them as best they could. Many people died due to the lack of specific treatment. There were several Chechens among the hostages, and it may be that some of them were not treated because of their Chechen names. Money and other valuables belonging to the victims vanished. Later, official reports stated that the valuables were stolen by an FSB officer who was later killed in a car crash. The Russian authorities initially maintained that none of the deaths among the hostages occurred through poisoning. They spoke of health problems that were exacerbated by the 3-day ordeal with very little food or water, or indeed medical attention. The gas is known as resin gas, was kept a secret, causing confusion and fear. This gas was illegal to use on our own people in our own country. Now, the Russian government faces a demand for answers and accountability for this human rights violation. In the midst of chaos, bravery often emerges. This was the case during the Moscow theater crisis. Russia used poison gas to free hostages, resulting in over 120 deaths. All terrorists were eliminated. Families in Russia began to voice their concerns. Soon, the world acknowledged Putin's iron will. Putin declared, "In such situations, if we have to make small sacrifices to achieve a great benefit, then we should be ready to make them." A grim acceptance of the cost of fighting terrorism. Then, in the aftermath, Russian President Vladimir Putin defended the scale and violence of the assault in a televised address later on the morning of 26 October, stating that the government had achieved the near impossible, saving hundreds of people, and that the rescue proved it is impossible to bring Russia to its knees. Putin thanked the special forces as well as the Russian citizens for their bravery and the international community for the support given against the common enemy. He also asked forgiveness for not being able to save more of the hostages and declared Monday a national day of mourning for those who died. He vowed to continue fighting international terrorism. People worldwide began to recognize his strength. Over time, the hostage crisis and its deaths faded from memory, but Putin's new image remained, not just in Russia, but globally. This is why Putin became a president twice. Following his prime minister term, he returned to the presidency in line with the constitution. 20 years have passed since Putin's reign in Russia began. His rule has been marked by numerous investigations and questions. One significant event remains shrouded in mystery.